So you guys ready for the big news? Did you hear the big news? The former fascistic bigot of a president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, has been banned from Brazilian politics and running for office until 2030. Did you hear the news? Well, in case you didn't, I'm going to report on it right now. So enjoy the program. Welcome to the Global Report with Zach, the Celtics guy. And yes, as you all have heard, based on this little piece of information right here, Bolsonaro barred from holding public office in Brazil until 2030. Brazil's federal electoral court bans former president on merits, also by majority. I partly uphold that the first respondent, Jair Bolsonaro, for the first practice of abuse of power and for the misuse of media in the 2022 elections, and declare his ineligibility for 8 years following the 2022 election. And then Bolsonaro goes on the defensive and wants to go out there and play the victim, just like he always does. Bolsonaro out there playing the victim. Oh, where have we seen that before? Oh, yeah. Where did we see this before with Bolsonaro playing the victim? Where have we seen him play the victim before? Blaming the left for his problems, blaming the left for all of the problems that he started with butchering the Amazon rainforest, attempting to undermine the rights of the LGBT community in Brazil, undermining women's rights, undermining indigenous people's rights. And this is the reason why Lula da Silva got back in for the third time. He he steamrolled him, although the election was a lot closer than one would expect, especially for someone who has done such a horrific job. Well, what is the reason that Bolsonaro got banned from office? Well, because Brazil's democratic institutions have held up and finally held this man accountable. And I like to explain, as I've explained multiple times on this channel in global segments and whatnot, just how much of an odious individual Bolsonaro is. And this was the reason that he got voted out in the first place. You could see all these people in Brazil, minority groups, gay people, lesbians, women, indigenous people, and including Afro Brazilians, pouring out in droves just to deny Bolsonaro a second term in office. So this basically, not only that, but this decision to ban him from office for 8 years basically has destroyed any credibility that he has ever had, which was never any in the first place. This is going to basically wreck his political future. And he brought this on himself. So it doesn't matter what you think about him or whatever the fuck. He brought this on himself. He brought this on himself. And let's also not forget the fact that he brought this on himself. Do you guys remember the insurrection in Brazil on January 8th with Jair Bolsonaro's blatant fascistic election denial and leading to a bunch of crazed lunatics storming the Capitol in Brazil, storming the Congress, storming the Supreme Courts, and all that, and other institutions and buildings and whatnot. Yeah, January 8th of 2023 was when they stormed it. Oh, much like January 6th of 2021. And an old video of mine where there was an attempted coup in Brazil that was definitely backed by Bolsonaro back in 2021. I predicted that there was going to be some type of a coup with regards to Bolsonaro, a fascistic right wing coup that Bolsonaro was going to incite in one sense or another one, because this is the type of person that Jair Bolsonaro is. Jair Bolsonaro, if you look at his record, if you look at his quotes, if you look at his behavior, he is a fascist, at least a neo-fascist. He's come off in numerous cases racially insensitive, and borderline racist, in some cases just outright racist, blatantly homophobic. He's obviously extremely homophobic. I mean, you have to be blind, deaf, and dumb to think that Bolsonaro is not homophobic, because he is. He's also a sexist. He's literally a blatant sexist against women. He is blatantly bigoted against minorities and bigoted against indigenous people. So, and he incited that sector of the Brazilian population to think that there was a stolen election. Oh, where did we see this? Didn't we see this with fucking Trump? Didn't we see that with Trump? Oh, that's right, we did. We also saw that with fucking Trump. We saw that with Trump. And yes, as much as Biden sucks, Trump is not the answer either, obviously, because Trump is just as much of a fucking shitbag as Biden is. In fact, Biden obviously is a million times worse than any of these fucking people. I mean, Biden sucks, obviously, but that's not the point of this. The point is, Bolsonaro brought this on himself, and it's about fucking time that you see one of these institutions hold one of these fascistic leaders accountable. Bolsonaro has finally been held accountable for his actions for once in his fucking life. For once in his fucking pathetic, miserable life that has consisted of a career of being a bigot, a racist, a homophobe, and a warmonger, a complete fucking war criminal, and an inciter of insurrections. He has finally been held accountable. So Bolsonaro has been finally held accountable. And you know what else they need to find him accountable for? They also need to find him accountable for meeting with a fascistic bigot also in Bolivia by the name of Janine Áñez. Bolsonaro planned to grant Janine Áñez political asylum. Now, who is Janine Áñez? Janine Áñez was a CIA puppet that was an interim president that was responsible for overthrowing Evo Morales in 2019. She gets in and she massacres her political opponents and causes political violence to surge to levels in Bolivia that has not been seen in decades. So what does Bolsonaro do? In the midst of coup leader hid trip to meet with Bolsonaro in Brazil. There is no doubt about that. There is no doubt about the fact that Jair Bolsonaro has committed an attempted obstruction or an attempted harboring of this genocidal maniac. And what is Bolsonaro? Bolsonaro is the exact same thing. And she went on trial. Janine Áñez went on trial, and she's now in prison for 10 years for genocide and crimes against humanity. And of course, CIA covering her up and saying it's politically motivated and all that, and you're seeing that. Of course you're seeing that because she was one of the U.S.'s puppets, and Jair Bolsonaro was the same thing, a fucking U.S. lackey, a right-wing bigot and a warmonger, much like Janine Áñez is, and this is exactly what you saw here. So I hope that they also hold accountable for this. Well, Bolsonaro has been held accountable at least to one form or another. I mean, he can't run for office for basically the next decade, but I think it's going to get to the point that Bolsonaro will get to be so old and decrepit. I mean, he already looks like it. He already looks like the fucking Night of the Living Dead. So I think it's past the time that Bolsonaro is practically done at this point. That's kind of why I haven't really made that many videos about him since he left office, and since Bolsonaro left office and Lula got back in there and restored Brazil's sanity and global standing in the world that Bolsonaro completely destroyed. So, much like Trump did, and much like all these other fucking politicians do for the U.S. So again, no, I think this happened a few days ago. This is a great example that these fucking fascistic tyrants and assholes can't get away with abusing their authority as leaders. You work for the people, not the other way around. That's what it all comes down to. Bolsonaro, the fucking fascistic tyrant and war criminal, has been held accountable for his actions, and it brings me joy to see that. And I think it's going to bring all of us joy, and I think it's going to bring a lot of people joy. And obviously, and of course what are people, and of course like the example of these fucking scumbags. What are they gonna do? They're just gonna fucking cry and throw a fit, just like they always do. Who does that type of thing? Who invades governmental institutions and smashes windows and property and all that? Who does that? I mean, who the fuck does that? It's like, who does that? Fucking scumbags. I don't even want to call them animals because they're worse than fucking animals. It's like they're fucking fascistic scumbag pieces of shit. They're worse than fucking animals. How's that a mistake? Bolsonaro didn't do this by accident. These people didn't do this by accident. This was premeditated. This was a premeditated act of terrorism and a fucking coup on January 8th, just like January 6th in the US. It's fucking despicable. But yes, who does that type of thing? Who engages in this type of disgusting behavior? And I hope all these fucking scumbags got prosecuted. Because every single one of them deserves to get fucking goddamn prosecuted. And it's like, how is that? What kind of leader does this type of thing? Or is it just someone who just doesn't give a shit about their own people? I'm a piece of shit leader. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear I'm a victim. I made a mistake. What kind of animals are you? What kind of animals are people like this? Like, who does this? But it goes to show that Bolsonaro will lie to cover himself up because Bolsonaro only cares about protecting his own skin. So no, fuck him. And fuck these scumbags who did this type of shit. Fuck them. They're all pieces of shit. And they can all rot in fucking prison as far as I feel. And Bolsonaro can fucking rot in prison as far as I feel. Just like Janine Inez can fucking rot in prison for all I care. They all need to be fucking held off and taken to fucking prison and answer to the people that they have repressed and have neglected. And or neglected. This is an example. This is what happens when you let capitalist oligarchs run the show. Oh, kind of like Macron in France, and also what we're seeing in France right now as well, with the riots that are going on there as well. And as I've said on this channel, and I always say, now listen, guys, as I'm a leftist. We're all anti-imperialist here, whether you're on the left or on the right on this channel. But you know what I always say, guys? Don't do violence. Just don't do violence. Violence isn't the way. Because violence is never acceptable, except in cases of self-defense. That's the only time that it's appropriate. The only time violence is ever appropriate is in cases of self-defense. In self-defense of yourself or another one. That's it. That's the only time that would ever be appropriate. And what took place was despicable. And Jair Bolsonaro is a despicable human being. And we need more countries and institutions worldwide to hold more of these people accountable. So we need more of this. We need more of this. We need to see the Supreme Court hold others accountable. Well, obviously, you're not going to see that happen in the U.S. because it's been overtaken by life tenure pieces of shit, like the ones that overturn Roe v. Wade, the ones that are undermining women's reproductive rights and undermining educational rights for minorities with affirmative action and all that other fucking garbage. I mean, we're seeing it. I mean, the life tenure is basically the fucking tyrants that sit on the Supreme Court. But I guess in Brazil, they at least have somewhat more sanity to say that no, No, this fucking piece of shit over here, this con man, this environmental assassin who's responsible for destroying the Amazon rainforest and has taken part in destroying the Amazon rainforest, or a big sector of it, and at least now it's going to be protected from this scumbag. No, Bolsonaro, the guy that incited these fucking riots, even though he was out of office at that point, it doesn't matter. He is a fucking tyrant and a proven tyrant. It's like, so no, we're not gonna let this guy run at least for another decade. Like, what are you, nuts? In all honesty, it should have been a permanent ban. Bolsonaro should have been permanently banned forever. Bolsonaro should never be allowed to run for public office ever again. A person responsible for the stuff that he is responsible for all these years should never be allowed to hold or run for public office ever again. But hey, 8 years is better than nothing. And at least Bolsonaro has been held accountable to some extent. Which isn't common in this world with these fucking politicians, I'm telling you. It's not that common. But good example. Good example for the world. And other countries in the world, including the US, should follow Brazil's example. Fuck Bolsonaro, he's a piece of shit, and fuck all these other right-wing lackeys in Latin America and these coup mongers that have overthrown socialist governments and democratic leaders. Fuck them. They can all fuck themselves and they can all go fucking rot in hell. And Jair Bolsonaro can go fucking rot in hell. And to the people of Brazil and to the leadership of Lula da Silva and to all of the socialist governments in Latin America, I salute you. Well, that's about it for now. Thank you all for listening. Hope you all enjoyed this segment. Hope you all learned something from it. I will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Look out for it, including more streams that are going to start on Tuesday at 7 p.m. starting next week. I have a lot of stuff going on next week, so I'll probably stream not nearly as long, but the week after I'll be back to the longer streams. But stay tuned for more streams, more videos, and other stuff in the works. Stay tuned for more and more stuff on the way. This is Zach, the Celtics guy, saying thank you for watching, as always. And I will catch you all in the, and of course, as always, I will always catch you guys. As always, I will catch you guys in the next one. And I will be doing more of the reading series of the American Empire book that my buddy Turles got me, Nicholas got me, recommended and whatnot. So I'll be reading that at some point soon. But until then, I'll see you all tomorrow at 7 p.m. and in the next video. Till next time, stay well, stay safe, be safe, be well, stay classy, and keep fighting and keep on rocking. Till next time, peace out, have a good day, and so long.